know what? I never took a kicking I didn't learn from. So why don't we try that again, yeah?
What's the damage waiver on like an Airbnb if you hire a place like that? Because it's really lovely.
Well, that's enough of that.
I am the most complete fighter in the world.
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
You can call it the art of fighting without fighting.
Stick around.
Some motherfuckers are always trying to ice skate uphill.
Dodge this.
Oh my goodness. Welcome back to Dodge This, Action Movies Unleashed, episode 22. We're back after what some people are calling an accidental summer break. We didn't go far. I was hanging around the fringes, and now I am back. And I say I because Matthew is still incommunicado. He's lost. He's deserted. There's people on his trail. He will be back. He's been a very busy boy. He went on a honeymoon, and during his honeymoon, he was unwilling to record a podcast about action movies, which I find absolutely unacceptable, to be honest. But I imagine his wife probably agreed with him. So it's been a roller coaster ride. We very nearly had another very exciting guest and Scott Adkins fan on who he nearly made it. And then he also was too busy being very busy and successful, but he promises he'll be back on a future episode. I'm not going to tell you who it is. It'll be an absolute treat when you hear him. Thankfully, I dipped into my grab bag of good eggs, who I know in real life. But as you know, the podcast is recorded remotely, so it's absolutely irrelevant whether or not he's in the same town as me. But he is, and he returns for his second appearance on Dodge This, defending his title. It's Amsterdam resident and director extraordinaire, Joe Roberts. Hello, mate.
Hello.
He's here.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I'm delighted to have you back. Thank you so much for returning to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. It's good to know I am third in line. At this time, maybe just good to name the people I'm behind. But yeah. I know the people that I'm behind, and I'm happy to be behind them.
Yes, yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, in your defense, I would say you were second in line because if Matthew is the default, so it's not like I'm asking him, do you want to do a podcast?
Yeah.
Although increasingly I am asking him, any chance you fancy doing a podcast? And he's like, mate, I've got to go here. I've got to do this. But he assures me he will be back in the coming weeks. But I have pressed him. Actually, before I do this, I should just quickly tell you up top, even though it's in the title and it's in the episode picture. We are talking about Accident Man 2, Hitman's Holiday, starring HRH, Scott Adkins. Finally, I think it was episode 2. We did one shot. That was the last full length appearance of Scott Adkins. I did mention him in Castle Falls and Section 8, but let's face it, neither of them were good enough for a whole episode. So I'm delighted that Accident Man 2 has delivered. So we'll be getting into that. Before that, though, just so you know that Matthew isn't trapped in a well or hasn't been kidnapped, I asked him to leave one of his absolutely classic voice messages where he gives us just a little insight into where he's been, and what he's been up to in absolutely zero detail. So please enjoy that now.
Oh, hi there. It's me, Matthew Huyton. Normally, you'd be hearing me chat to Simon, but there's so many explosions, car chases, fast fists, and high kicks where I am now. I couldn't get to the podcast. Just, one-man army working his way through a sea of admin and other jobs. So I'm just too busy to be there, basically, kicking ass and doing spreadsheets. I'm actually doing stuff that's really exciting. I'm just trying to, play it down. So everyone's not like, wow, his life's too exciting. I don't know if this is the sort of thing that keeps you hooked to the podcast. So, oh my God, Action.
Some absolutely classic stuff there from Matt Heighton, where with one hand he doesn't giveth, and with the other hand he absolutely doesn't taketh. We nothing. All we know is he's alive, and there is something that means his schedule is very busy. But I think we're all going to be excited when he comes back and tells us about it. Let's get into it, I would say. Joe, before we head to the trailer park, it's been almost a month since the last podcast, and it's been a several months since you've been here. Have you watched anything or heard anything or seen anything outside of Accident Man 2 that is worthy of note?
I recently watched a independent sci-fi film called VESPER.
Ooh, okay.
Have you heard of VESPER? It's a Belgium sci-fi film with Eddie Marsden as Eddie Marsden as the bad guy, and it's really great. I really enjoyed it. It's low budget, but it's really well done and done with a really small team. So I watched that this week.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Belgian.
Yeah, and it's called VESPER.
Did you understand much of it, since we're both based in the Netherlands?
Oh, it's all in English.
Oh, it's in English?
No, yeah. It's all in English.
Okay, perfect.
It was, I think, mostly shot in Belgium. But yeah, fantastic visuals, and yeah, I really recommend it. That's what I've been watching. I also watched a Netflix kind of comedy revenge. It was pitched as like the new Mean Girls, which got me really excited, but it wasn't. It was called Do Revenge.
Is it good?
No. Well, so I watched all of it though, expecting it to get better. But yeah, so and The Bear on FX. I'm watching that. That's great.
I finished The Bear. It's great. How far are you in?
5 episodes.
Okay, good stuff.
6
yeah,
episodes. Yeah,
there is
loving it.
I think the penultimate episode has like a 20-minute long single take.
Nice.
Which is, if you can, if you've been watching it up to then, you're like, this is, you know the vibe of it. It's very frenetic. There's a lot of like acting.
Yeah.
And it's just that done in one take, and it's
in
very
real
impressive.
time.
Yeah, in real time. Yeah.
It's hard to do.
Real good. I watched Bros actually the other day.
Oh, what, is that good?
Yeah, it was enjoyable. Yeah. Billy Eichner's gay rom-com, I guess is how you would pitch that, isn't it? Yeah, it was funny, enjoyable, and exactly a rom-com. It wasn't like full of surprises. It pretty much trod the path of rom-comery, as you would expect. And
then is it up there with like the really good recent rom-coms of, say, like Judd Apatow kind of train wreck stuff like that? Is it that good?
Well, Apatow did produce it.
Oh, okay. So he's involved
in exactly that sort of realm. I enjoyed it. I'm not sure it's like one of the best rom-coms of recent years, but it's obviously nice that it's a rom-com with a different voice.
I'm a big rom-com fan.
Yeah, I love a good one. It's just they're so few and far between. And now that Netflix is just, diluting the waters by just churning these things out every week, you're like, who can tell what the good ones are? This guy.
Sandra Bullock. If Sandra Bullock's in it, I'll watch it.
I watched The Lost City. That's reminded me.
What did you think of that? I watched that too.
I thought it was all right. Yeah. I thought it was fine.
Could have been better though.
Yeah, it could have been better for sure. I
thought it was going to be. It was like Sandra Bullock being her most Sandra Bullocky in terms of like, she's great. I love her. She's literally, Sandy B is up there as.
I think everyone is very game, right? Like Channing.
Yeah.
Game.
Yeah.
No spoilers. Pitt. Game.
Daniel Radcliffe.
Having a ball. Not quite the sum of its parts, I suppose, would be the.
Great way of putting it.
Difficult to make a rom-com in this day and age, let alone a sort of adventurous. What would you call it? Like a modern day Romancing the Stone. Is that what they were going for?
That's what I was exactly going to say.
Yeah.
What are they called? Kind of,
adventure rom-com.
Yeah.
Don't know. Not an action movie though. I think we can agree. Absolutely not an action movie.
There's bits of action in it. Oh, we've been over this, right?
There
okay.
were.
But it wasn't
before
enough.
the podcast, I tried to explain to Joe what constitutes an action movie, brackets, and one that is podcast worthy, and I've absolutely failed, I think.
Well, you said if it's got a roundhouse in it, that is an action.
That's it. That's true. That is straight in to the a roundhouse kick in it. It's an 100% an action movie. So I don't know. Is the Karate Kid an action movie, or is it a coming of age drama that's based around karate? We could just talk forever.
I'd love there to be like a Merchant Ivory movie, or like one written by Julian Fellows that just has completely out of nowhere someone being roundhouse kicked. That would be great. Just over a dinner table, just like, and you're like, shit.
Love that.
Simon's like, oh shit. And that is an action movie.
Well, you could have you seen the movie Brotherhood of the Wolf? That is a sort of period movie set in France that features unexpected martial arts and action. And also some kind of wolfery. Very enjoyable.
Unexpected martial arts is one of my favourite categories.
Yeah.
Like we were saying, kind of unexpected Hollywood A-listers now being roped into action movies.
Yes.
That's a deep vein.
It is.
Deep, rich vein.
It's a rich seam of content. Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
It's like I saw a trailer for a movie called Lamborghini today, with Frank Grillo playing the eponymous Monsieur Lamborghini.
Right.
And Grillo is a guy who seems to just like vacillate between A-list big movies and straight to video dreck with gleeful abandon. I don't know if he's just like, mate, I just love acting, I'm just going to do it all. Or he has no concept of like quality, or it's so difficult to know how the whole thing works, isn't it?
Is it? So it's a biopic about the man behind Lamborghini, like a Ford and Ferrari kind of, or
that seems to be what it is.
Gucci kind of thing.
Yeah. It seems like it's Lamborghini versus Ferrari. And I think Gabe Byrne is Monsieur. Pretty sure it's not Monsieur. It's the Italian version of Monsieur Ferrari. And Frank Grillo is Mr. Lamborghini. Yeah.
But so Adam Driver's coming out with a film called Ferrari, where he is Mr. Ferrari, or the Italian version of Mr. Ferrari. So they're just trying to get Lamborghini out there, so it's a little bit comes out sooner, quicker, finishes quicker.
This is your classic Dante's Peak volcano situation, isn't it? It's your classic your Armageddon Deep Impact. It keeps happening.
Yeah, I'm always interested about when they find that out. What part of production they find that out? Yeah, it's like, guys, we're making. Wait for it, Pinocchio. They're gonna love it. They're not gonna see this. What? There's another Pinocchio coming. There's a couple of Pinocchios all out of nowhere. So and I'm wondering whether they go. Should we keep going, or do we stop?
Or do they go? Warner's a greenlit Pinocchio, so we better greenlight our Pinocchio because and may the best movie win.
May the best Pinocchio win.
May the best wooden boy win.
Or if it's just them going, right, let's do it, but do it quicker.
Yeah, very possibly. Yeah. Who knows? God, there's so many deep cut movie production questions. And I suspect there's a few more going to creep out when we get into talking about Accident Man 2. But before that, that is a lengthy intro waffle. It's been a while since we've been at a pod. We've got a lot to get out of the system. And by we, I clearly mean me. Let's have a look at some trailers.
Welcome to the party, pal.
All right, here we go. Trailer time. We've got 3 trailers to get through. The first of which is called The Ambush. This is a war action thriller. We don't know if anyone's getting roundhoused in it, but I think what puts it almost squarely in it's probably fairly exploitative action department is from the director of Taken. That's really all I've got. The trailer it looks all right, doesn't it? It's a sort of it's made in the United Arab Emirates. I don't know if I've seen any movies from the United Arab Emirates, but this one looks like a sort of kinetic troops are pinned down and they have to fend off baddies.
Yeah.
I don't know.
High intensity.
Really well.
I think, is it, again, a type of movie where it's just a standoff? I feel like there's movies where they're just in one position and they've got to get out of it, where they're behind enemy lines or, like Black Hawk Down's not like that. But
but the movie Behind Enemy Lines.
Right.
Could count. Might count. Is it Owen Wilson in that? I feel like that's a weird... Is it Owen Wilson?
Is he behind enemy lines?
In Behind Enemy Lines, were they trying to make him an action star in that?
Right.
I'm going to have to type it into IMDb to see if sometimes I can trust my brain, but sometimes I can't trust it. It is Owen Wilson. It's Owen Wilson
Brilliant.
and Gene Hackman. So...
Oh, Gene Hackman. I would watch... I miss Gene Hackman. I wish he'd do films.
He's going to watch Behind Enemy Lines now.
I will watch anything with Gene Hackman in. Gene Hackman is my Sandy Bullock. So with Al Kameen, just reading about it, 400 extras. Again, I feel like this is the RRR way of making movies. Just make not 400 extras, 400 member crew and cast. So 400 behind the camera. Well, that's too many behind the camera. Okay. Most of them in front of the camera. I'm loving this new kind of wave of just no longer relying on CG crowds, but just getting loads of people in. I think that always looks loads better.
There's a lot to be said for that, yeah.
Well, it's the largest Arabic language feature film production made in the UAE. So I feel like this is their breakout film. Yeah. Filmed entirely there, and it's the highest grossing Emirati and Arabic language film.
That's very interesting. And they've got Pierre Morel in to direct it. I'd love to know what how the story of that went. How you land him?
Quite a lot of money.
Throw a lot of money at it.
A bit of
I don't know. I'm interested to see it. You know, it's obviously I'm sure there's some vague level of contentiousness around who are these soldiers? Who are they fighting for? Who are they fighting against? I feel like there's a lot of politics in there that I'm 100% not qualified to talk about. So maybe I'll just watch the movie and see if it's good.
Yeah, as with any war film, I don't think you can get away with it being also a propaganda film.
True.
By who made it.
Yeah. Unless you're China, in which case most of those war films are quite aggressively propaganda. Although we've discussed this in the past when we talked about these movies, and that also most American war films are arguably American propaganda. I mean, Top Gun Maverick is basically an advert, right, for the US military. Mm-hmm. Let's pop the lid back on that Pandora's box. Quick. And head over to France for a quite unexpected but delightful to see it sequel, Lost Bullet 2, or Balle Perdue, I feel like the original was called that. I'm not reading it. I have just guessed that from my rudimentary French. So
checks out.
Yeah.
Perdue means lost.
Exactly. And I hope Balle is bullet. Otherwise, it's just like Lost Ball or something.
Lost Ball.
Just about some kids playing football in the garden.
Or an undescended testicle.
Anyway, Lost Bullet, the first one, was a sort of, I want to call it like a sleeper hit. I don't know. Obviously, it went straight to Netflix, so who really knows what qualifies or quantifies a hit? But it's got a sequel, so it must have been successful according to Netflix's metrics. Yeah, I can't remember the exact plot. There's a bullet, and some people have to get it back. And there's a guy who soups up cars in cool ways, and he's sort of like, not a good guy, but not that. He's not like a real bad guy, but he's And it was a pretty solid, low budget French action movie from a few years ago. Evidently, they were like, "Let's have more of that, please." And in this trailer, he's made some sort of laser electric crane attachment for his car that just shoots cars in the air. You love to see it.
I love a French action movie. I really if it's French and it's I'm watching it. There's something classy as well about all French action movies.
You think
know
so?
What I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. There's just if it was English, it would be less cool. But they're all kind of cool action movies. Do you know what I mean? You've got like The Prophet or like La Haine. Although whether these meet the
arguably not an action movie.
Okay.
I think I'd say. But maybe
Leon,
like Leon.
You know?
You're thinking,
yeah,
Taxi.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
District 13. Everything that Luc Besson cracks out of like Europa Court, basically. All those sort of like cookie cutter, but like quite all right action movies. I'm pretty sure old director of Taken has chunked out a couple of those for old producer Luc Besson in his time.
Right. Gavros.
What's Gavros?
You know? Roman Gavros, who did the who's made that film that we were talking about earlier.
Athena.
That I've now forgotten. Athena.
Oh, right.
Again, that's probably not action, but it feels actiony.
I've got to watch it. Yeah. I'm going to watch Lost Bullet because it's out as we record this, it's out next week. So my fingers are crossed that it is. I mean, I think it falls into the category of this podcast. So let's just hope it's a 3-star or above movie. That's also the criteria for making it onto the podcast. Lost Bullet 2. I'm ready for it. I've got one more trailer for H4Z4RD or Hazard, written in a cool way with numbers in the title, but it is not the third sequel to a movie called Hazard. It's just Hazard in a kind of, I guess, easily Googleable way. This interested me mainly because it is Belgian and it is in Belgian.
Yeah.
And you and I living in the Netherlands, that is, it's this not exactly the same, but it is largely the same language. So it's quite interesting to sort of hear a native language action, thriller, comedy type thing.
Yeah. And I was watching it thinking, oh, is this one of these cool films that takes place within, or the majority of the action takes place within a car?
Mm-hmm.
Again, I love those kind of low budget. You don't have to pay for a location if most of it's taking place within a car,
right? Like
that Tom Hardy film Lock.
Yes, yeah.
I love it when people use their constraints as the selling point, as like their strengths basically.
Yeah,
but yeah, again, every now and then picking up a slightly Dutch word that turns out was a Flemish word.
Yeah,
it's like oh yeah. I'm very much into this.
Yeah, I think this definitely counts as Dutch homework, like language homework for my Dutch classes. If I go to see this, I should get some sort of credit. I don't know.
So this is action because it's got fast cars and cars flying through the air and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think it's being marketed as action, but it does look like it's sort of one of those. What would you call it? It sort of puts me in mind of movies like Run Lola Run and those sort of like spiky, indie, thrillery, visceral, kinetic movies where it's like, oh my God, there's a MacGuffin, we've got to get it, or they're trying to get it. And then like, slightly that, I guess, Guy Ritchie to some degree. I don't know how you would describe that whole world of excitable directors' early works.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know this
action
director.
Movies.
Yeah. But it looks like it might be a lot of fun.
They've done that thing on to play with the YouTube algorithm or game it and by putting action comedy thriller Fast and Furious also in the title. So that they're playing to like trying to game the system and trying to aim for that market. Although if it has some of the Fast and Furious type stunts in that would be amazing. But
I'm thinking it doesn't. But Lost Bullet 2, they should have put Fast and the Furious in that because that's got a car flipping 20 feet in the air in it. As for H4Z4RD Hazard, it's called Hazard clearly. I don't know. This one it looks just like a sort of interesting indie, quirky movie. Some weird characters doing naughty business in a car,
and like you said, very director led, and the elements of our main showing have fingerprints on like a passionate director.
Calling card.
Yeah, a calling card film where they've got the time and the space to have fun with it.
Yes.
You can cut that out as well, for fuck's sake. Sorry.
Okay. Because clearly, the Accident Man, they did not have neither time nor space. They were absolutely constrained by both of those things, but nonetheless, yes. But to your point, I think Accident Man is like a calling card as much as probably these H4Z4RD.
Exactly. Directors who are still trying hard.
Yes.
They're early enough on that they're really giving it their all, and really they've thought about it a lot.
Yeah. Putting in the extra hours.
Sorry, I keep fucking it up.
There's no retakes. It all goes in.
Great stuff. Okay.
With that in mind, shall we head through to the main event? It's screen number 1, aka my lounge or your lounge. Don't know where you watched this. I like to assume everyone still watches things on a real TV, but it pains me that a lot of people watch these things on laptops these days. And, that's fine. That's fine. But nothing beats a TV, said the old man. It's a feature presentation.
And now, our feature presentation.
Dodge this.
I watched on the TV.
You love to see it. All right. We made it. It's time for the main event. It's Accident Man, Hitman's Holiday, a.k.a. Accident Man 2, the sequel to the Scott Adkins passion project of, I want to say, 2 or 3 years ago. It was based on a little graphic comic, that's what they're called, a graphic comic, which featured in a comic called Toxic, which was like, it didn't run for very long in the UK. And the only reason I bring this up is because I was recently in the UK going through a box of old shit. And I opened this box and I've got issue 1 of this comic in there. And I was like, holy shit, this is that. And I flicked through it and I found the original Accident Man comic in there. So that's amazing. I was very excited. Tweeted it and Scott Adkins replied. So now we're best friends and he'll be on this podcast before you know it. If I thought about that earlier, actually, he's done a lot of press for this movie and with a lot of, YouTube channels, podcasts and vlogs. I think if I'd really angled for it, maybe he might have chatted. He might have come on and chatted. But we've missed the window. Nonetheless, we've watched the movie. Let's talk about it. Joe, before coming to this, what do you know about Adkins?
A shockingly low amount. I was actually going to ask you to give me the Idiot's Guide to Scott Adkins. Do you know Scott? Great
Scott,
guy.
Yeah.
But not Scott. Tell me about Scott Adkins.
I actually did email Scott Atkins and he was more than willing to come on the podcast and talk to me. And he was very nearly
a good
here.
guy. To be fair, he's a lovely bloke.
He's like that guy that went into the BBC for a different job and ended up being live on air talking about cybersecurity or something. That's Scott Atkins on this podcast. So your new movie. Why have you turned the camera off, Scott? Like, right, well, I don't know, never been in a movie, actually. I'm very excited to be on the podcast. You sound different, Scott. This is your first Adkins, is that what you're saying?
This is my first Adkins, yeah.
Yes.
It's my first Adkins.
Okay. Your first full Adkins.
My first full Adkins.
Okay,
my first full Adkins diet.
Welcome to the Adkins diet.
Yeah. So I didn't know what to expect because you had sent me a video. Once you told me it was Accident Man 2, I said, I have not seen Accident Man 1. It was similar for the roundup, really.
That's true,
when I saw
actually,
it as Outlaws 2, I was like, I have not seen Outlaws 1.
Oh, so now maybe that's your thing on the podcast. I only bring you on for a sequel when you've never seen the original. That's a really good bit, I think. In fairness, I hadn't seen the original The Outlaws when we watched the roundup. And I think I feel like I did okay. This one, again, I don't think you need to have seen the original. They tell you what you need to know. But I did send you a creepy YouTube video. Please explain. And did you watch it even?
Yeah, I watched it. I think it's discombobulating.
It was like 12 minutes long.
Yeah, it's suffocating to watch, and it makes you feel ill because it's one of these videos that has an automated voiceover, I would say, where someone's obviously typing in the text, and they have this almost TikTok-like voice where it's a man literally speaking speech to text. Absolutely baffling. So I did watch it.
I've got a clip. I'm going to play it in so that the listeners know the absolute treat. This is how you got the recap. And it's genuinely, the video is 10 minutes long. I'll link it in the show notes if you want to watch. I'll say this is very detailed, but it's written in such a strange way. This is what it sounds like.
Today we will learn a movie about an assassin who specializes in staging assassinations into accidents. This is Mike, a professional hitman, working in an assassin organization led by Big Ray, a retired veteran assassin. Mike is the best assassin among the assassins in the guild. Although everyone has a different method of assassination, this big bearded guy was one of Mike's favorite people. His personality is quite hot-tempered, so his assassination method is also very frenzied.
It's like a stream of consciousness from a 13-year-old who's like been up for 3 days.
Yeah.
It's just a barrage of audio undercut with what seems like a film, but that's been recut or all the bits have been taken out.
It's very strange.
It's an absolute fever dream of a recap.
In fairness, it could and probably was written by a 13-year-old and put on YouTube. And fair play to the kid. Like, he's got 2 to 3. I watched it a couple of times, enjoyed it so much, and ripped that audio from it. He's got a few views off us. So, and if you do need a really in-depth synopsis of the film, because you don't have a subscription to Sight and Sound magazine where they write really long. That was a deep cut. I didn't even expect that one. There's no other way to get a really in-depth synopsis of it. And that covers everything. That was like, I'd actually forgotten what happened in the first one. I mean, I know he's a guy, he's an assassin, and he makes it look like an accident, but I forgot the whole story with Ray Stevenson being his sort of surrogate dad and all that sort of caper. So it's actually quite a useful recap.
In the end, he let Mike go but cut all ties with him. The film ends.
I think you'd be better off watching the actual film.
100%. Yes. Yes. Spend those 10 minutes that you would have watched the YouTube video, tack on another 80, and you may as well watch the whole film, and then you'll get some like quite enjoyable action out of it. It's not a bad movie. Yeah.
But is it very different in tone? Because it feels like, just from that Fever Dream recap, it feels like it's different in tone. It feels more serious. Because when I went on to watch the sequel, it felt almost like a comedy.
Yeah.
Like an action comedy, lighthearted. And it didn't feel like, again, I'm placing a lot of info out of this of this recap.
Yeah.
And I probably shouldn't do that. But
no, I think you gathered the right information from it, which was that it worked well as an action movie, but for me at least, the comedy didn't really land very well. I think it had a lot of that. Well, it was set in London, so there was a lot of like, oh, fucking here we go, lads. But when it's just sort of a bit too much of that, like it's not Lock, Stock, it's modern Guy Ritchie, where you're like, oh, this sort of is like a parody of itself now, like it was that, where it was sort of trying to be quite like, well, geezery comedy, we're having a fight as well, but it didn't work for me. And even in some of the interviews I think that I've seen with Adkins, he sort of said that the director Jesse Johnson is very good at the action and the drama, but comedy's not necessarily his thing. And
definitely. And with action comedies, British senses of humour are really good, because they can it's all about undercutting, really, and that's what you want from good comedy. When it comes to action, you need the dry quip at the end of it, delivered in quite a cutting way or an undercutting way. Whereas the American action films, when it comes to comedy, have gone too far, really, with the Marvel comedies, and now it's also smug. Whereas it's not smug when it's British in a way because it's too self-deprecating or too, I think the British sense of humour and action movies go really well together, and that's why it's definitely one of the strengths of Accident Man 2.
I'm a tough crowd for comedy, as I'm sure you are, as a huge comedy fan of someone who makes it. So I wouldn't say go into this expecting a lolathon. It's certainly not why I watched it. I watched it again this week as just to sort of remember it for the podcast, and I did. There are moments when I think, with the right script and direction, I think Adkins could do comedy. There's just a lot of the dialogue is a bit like weirdly clunky at times, and you kind of think if that line was better, I think he could deliver it in a quite dry, interesting way. And I think given the right script and character, like he could play comedy, or at least that sort of Jackie Chan level of comedy, where instead of him being the hard nut from the off, he is a sort of a guy that can fight but doesn't want to, Yeah. And I think I had this thought today that I would quite like to see Adkins in oh no, I'm being forced to fight in a kind of slightly comic, like, oh, I've got to have accidentally done a triple roundhouse on the guy kind of way. Oh no, he's gone through the window sort of way. Whereas his MO is usually, I am a very hard man. Do not fuck with me. I'm instead of like being like, oh God, no, don't, boo, 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 which is sort of Jackie Chan's stock and trade. That's the phrase I was looking for. Yeah. So I think the comedy is definitely better than the first one. There's definitely like some better comedy performers around the main cast. Of George Fouracres was I was quite surprised to see him from the sketch group Daphne, who's a very funny bloke. He pops up in one of the lead roles, which is quite the score. I'd love to play that role in this movie, but he does it great. You don't have to do any fighting. You get to be punched loads by Scott Adkins. It's like my Make-A-Wish dream.
And do an outrageous Maltese or Italian accent.
Yeah, or Greek, or sort of vaguely in that area, isn't it? I think. Yeah. I was like, yeah, sounds all right. Sounds fine, I think.
I'm sure there's
I don't think I'm the one to judge it.
No, most of the Mediterranean are probably horrified.
Up in arms.
It's great for us. Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Oh, so you're from there, that area. Yeah.
Yeah. I think he was very funny in it, and he did. I think he did the best he could with an arguably underwritten character. I was like, if I had a dial that turned him from less irritating to more funny, I think I would have enjoyed that more, because there were a few glimmers where you could sort of see, you've unleashed him a bit. And I would like to have seen a bit more of that.
It felt like he was held back by the script. Like you say, I think for me, the weakest bit of this film was the script, and it didn't help a lot of the time. And when you feel like there were more improvised lines from him, like I think the one that sticks out for me is when he calls him a melted Ben Affleck.
Yes.
So I feel like, let him off the leash a little bit.
Yeah, I wanted more of that. Yeah. But let's face it, we're not coming in here to watch this movie for the script.
Okay. I'll just take off all my notes about the script. That's fine.
Sorry, did you have some more notes?
Just a few.
A few revisions. Fine. Okay. Look, we need it. We need a good script. We need to string together the series of action scenes in this movie, right? And I think it does it reasonably well. It's not too cringy. There's a few sort of lighthearted moments, and I think there's some nice choices that were made, like the comic who starts as comic relief and ends up sort of his I want to say sidekick. I'm talking about Sarah Chang, who plays Wong Siu Ling, because I think her character starts out as sort of comic relief, but also a really good fighter. And I think that was quite well pitched. I mean, it is the sort of exact character of Kato from the Pink Panther movies, right? That was, and I think they would happily admit that's what that was based on. But it's quite a nice way to get a fight scene in about the first 5 minutes of the movie, which sets out the stall very, very nicely. And you're like, oh, all right, okay, here we go.
Yeah.
And is I think a good role for Sarah Chang, who hasn't done loads of stuff prior to this. So I think she's a really good find and plays that very nicely, and then gets to do a little bit more fighting a little bit later before she is sadly knocked out by the chief bad guy quite quickly towards the end.
Yeah, he's a great chief bad guy. More about him. But yeah, I think she's a device to get the fighting in earlier, because it does take a while for the fighting to properly kick in.
Yeah, the sort of fighting versus baddies, you mean?
Yeah, the boss fights. There's still a fair amount of setup, which I enjoy, because there's like cool devices in terms of like, again, probably recapping how the Accident Man actually works.
Yes.
And Perry Benson's role within that, and their kind of, again, foreshadowing of how they're killing people or will kill people. I enjoyed that. It's it was an interesting device, but it did mean that the action did start later, because it had to set all that stuff up.
Yeah, there's quite a few plates spinning for a while there, aren't there? So I think, in terms of like shrewd movie making, quite smart to be like, let's wang in a pretty solid fight scene up top, do a bunch of, get the plot mechanics going. And then in fairness, I didn't feel like it dragged too much in that middle bit. I think it sort of gets going. And then almost the entire second half, I would say third act, but I don't know how acty it is in that.
Yeah,
in that
whether
regard.
it follows the traditional kind of 3-act structure or hero's journey.
But it's basically like the last 45 minutes is the sort of game of death, boss fight after boss fight, isn't it? Really, once they start lining it up, and from the outset they're like, well, there's a group of 5 assassins, and you're like, okay, I hope he's going to fight them all one by one. And sure enough, and I hope they've all got a very unique set of skills, appearances, and things that they do, and they absolutely do. You know what you're getting going in. And it does, I think it fully delivers on that, We get like, we've got the guns one. Now we've got a sort of creepy sort of voodoo sword man. Oh, and then...
Vampire, yeah.
He's a vampire. He's slightly vampire-y. It's not quite as on the nose as there's a killer clown for some reason, but that feels like the most comic book character.
My favourite character, though. Absolutely fantastic.
Yeah,
but before all of that kicks in,
yes.
Again, they're on It's a Holiday. They've got to show their location. They're in Malta. It looks incredible. The locations are great. And
they really do sell those Maltese locations. I haven't been to Malta, but I'm like, well, that it has to be Malta, right? It's not Vancouver doubling for Malta. It's some really nicely shot and showing off. Look, we've not got a lot of time. We've only got this location for a day. Mm-hmm. Let's make it look lovely. Get that drone up. Get that 360 camera attached to the bike. Let's, they really, like we said, it's a calling card movie for the directors as well, isn't it? It's like, look, we haven't got a lot of money or time, but this looks pretty good, right?
Yeah. And even as the first fight with Sarah Chang kicks in, he walks into a really nice flat.
Yeah, production value, in it? From the
production values. Yeah. And I'm thinking, is that an Airbnb? What's the damage waiver on like an Airbnb if you hire a place like that? Because it's really lovely.
Yeah.
I'm wondering how much you have to tell them about
what you're doing there.
What you're doing. What are you going to be doing? Just fighting. Just a lot of fighting. Is that a problem? Oh, any pets?
Would you say
no
it's
pets?
better or worse than we're going to film a porn in the Airbnb?
Yeah.
Which would you rather find out your flat has been used for? Fight a lot of fighting or porn?
Look, it's going to be fine as long as you're not a stag do. A few heads up. we've got a glass coffee table. Okay, we really like that, and so please be careful of it. I just like the idea of this Airbnb owner like walking around,
doing the inventory.
And what are you going to be doing here? Yeah, we're just here for just seeing some places.
So lads, just a sort of romantic weekend. Me and the 26 crew members who are
all wearing cargo shorts.
Yeah, it's a lot of you. A lot of you. It does say it sleeps 30 on the Airbnb. We're going to use all the fold-outs. Don't worry about
that. Yeah, so that's it's fantastic locations. That's what kind of hit me in that first one. Like, whoa. And like you say, they shot it all in Malta, all in 22 days, right? With a little bit of light Googling.
Yeah.
So they packed out those 22 days.
Really packed it out, yeah.
Packing in the best of Malta.
100%. And I think they do very well to like manage those locations and spread them out throughout the film, because clearly the majority of the boss fights, the final few boss fights all take place in, which is why I found this quite interesting. It's a sort of like a cave, like a lair. And I kind of thought, oh, well, that could just be in, Essex, or like that could just be a cave in somewhere in the UK, but it isn't. I think that is also in Malta for presumably logistical reasons. The whole crew is already there. They're getting the tax breaks. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know how that works.
It definitely, it could be an NCP car park.
Yes.
But it's definitely not. It seems like it's too high ceilinged.
Yes.
They would have to film the whole thing in Malta with that amount of time. It's, that whole last section is, I can't remember why they're all underground.
Oh, because that's the place where they do, it's like his Q lair, isn't it? Where he tests out the things. It's his workshop.
Oh, right.
So they take the guy there to hide him, but then all the baddies find them there. It's a good way to, I guess it's a very controllable environment where they could be really meticulous about shooting the fights and make sure they had enough time, I guess, to get those fights. It's as close to a studio as you would want, I suppose, whilst also being a location.
And the brothers even talked about splitting up, and one of them would go to the Poco fight, and then one of them would go somewhere else. So again, just having a studio set up like that would be so handy to just crack out as much action as possible in a short amount of time.
And they absolutely deliver on that. I think we can agree. The idea of filming all of this in 22 days sort of does blow my mind. Like the amount of prep that goes into it. Obviously, like all the choreography was sort of done before, and I think they prevised like all the fights. So you just get there and you go, we know what this is meant to look like. But they talked about locations dropping through at the last minute and all these kind of like things that you just, I guess, are filmmaking nightmares, but are this kind of stuff you just have to be prepared for at this budget level, where you can't be like, okay, well then we'll just do it next week. You're like, we got to do it today. It has to happen. Like
we've got to get out of the Airbnb tomorrow. So this needs to happen today. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's that sort of kickball scramble of, we've got some money, but we're using every single penny, and we are like wringing that budget dry to make this movie look like the proverbial $1 million or the proverbial $5 to $7 million.
We've been having a lot of budget talks this week, so I think it's aiming for that 10 million. I would push it up to 10 million. I think the production values that they've done brilliantly. Yeah, I think it looks great.
I think it looks like more than it probably cost. So 100%. I think they've a tick in that box for production value. Fly a drone over a bit of Malta immediately. It looks like a Bond movie, doesn't it? That is just great production and great planning. Film on a bit of a castle. Looks like Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
And then, yes, maybe the latter 30 minutes is sort of in a cave, but it's a budget, isn't it? You can't have it in a real, like on the beach or somewhere where you can't like close off a square and that sort of thing. If you want to have like 3 really full-on fights. I think they've done very well with the budget and changing it up a little bit nicely. Like the first sort of bad guy fight is in a sort of club, and then it's sort of a bit in a kitchen. Yeah. I don't want to get too deep into it, but the lady who plays that assassin is now in jail and has seemingly been excised from this production. Her name is not in the credits. She's not on IMDb. No, but I mean, talk about like a location dropping through is a production nightmare. But imagine you've made this whole movie and then one of the people who's in it goes to jail for unpleasant stuff, and you're like, fuck.
Very unpleasant stuff. Yeah.
I can't just cut 10 minutes out of this film. We shot it all. That is a scruples nightmare, isn't it?
Yeah. I did say earlier, maybe she went to jail for her South African accent. Again, there's a lot of accents that I'm going to bring up here. If I can't talk about the script, I'm just going to talk about the accents.
Yeah. She made a choice. She made a choice to do a South African accent. It sounds like perhaps she's made a lot of bad choices in the last few years. Being in this movie wasn't one of them. I think entirely in a kind of Hitler's paintings sort of way. She's good in the movie doing the fighting. That's all I can say.
In a Hitler's painting sort of way.
Well, you know, like because Hitler's paintings are really great if you don't think about all the other stuff.
I'm not sure Hitler's paintings are that good.
No, I'm talking about like removing the person from the art.
Yes. The Michael Jackson kind of
better example. A better
Bill Cosby.
And slightly and arguably closer to this example. Less genocide, more let's move on. Anyway, it's a good fight scene. It's unfortunate that it's retrospectively scuppered. One of my only minor complaints, and I think again it just speaks to this budget level, is the After Effects muzzle flashes and sort of blood spray 101 in that scene in particular. It feels a little cheap, and I know like you can't just have people fighting, and it is nice to have, you know, the guns, fists, cars triumvirate, and I get like just practical squibs and effects are just so expensive and difficult and time consuming that you just have to do it digitally these days, and not to do the whole movie a disservice because it is great, but like the VFX are a little ropey in places, unfortunately.
For sure. But I think that speaks to probably the Kirby brothers' background as YouTube creators and probably doing everything themselves in a way, as well as doing the VFX themselves, which is not to say you can't do the VFX yourselves and do amazing work.
Absolutely.
But, I agree that maybe going to there's just not the money to go to a proper post house, but it's in our eyeballs every day in terms of we see such great post production, and so we know when bad post production it kind of sticks out. Although interestingly, the bit at the end that you're talking about, I think is done one of the scenes that the corridor crew worked on.
Yes, the death scene from that sort of the first boss fight is very enjoyable. That's a great bit. Yes, they did that. If you don't know who Corridor Crew are, what are you doing? They're some VFX guys from LA that make wonderful YouTube videos, and one of their big hitter series is called Stuntmen React, which is exactly what it says on the tin. And they've had Scott Adkins come in do that show. Somehow they've linked up and gone, can we come? Or he said, do you want to do some VFX in this movie? Yeah. And there's 2 bits where they do some just like really good, half practical and half digital, I would say. One of them is a sort of cool shooting practical thing, and then one of them is a full digital thing. Yeah. Those are very good effects.
But unfortunately, I think that shows up the rest of the VFX.
Yes, quite possibly. Yeah, which is both annoying, and I'm so delighted that Corridor got to do that. And and it's a shame they probably couldn't hire them to do all the VFX on the whole movie. Like at the end of the movie where they sort of have the actors' character screens, quite liked that. That looks like hand-drawn comic books. Throughout the movie, when they sort of have the pop-up screens when the characters arrive,
the title
they just look
cards
so cheap. And I mean, I don't want to rag on it, but they just really looked just cheap.
When the first one popped up for Freya, Dupree, I was like, oh, they're going for the Suicide Squad. But it does stick out. And but I enjoyed it. I love a title card.
I do too. And but those ones, I don't know why they just rubbed me the wrong way, because they just looked, I don't know, like just not great. Anyway, enough with that. The first fight is great. Corridor Crew does a fantastic job of the final move, the fatality, if you will, and that is actually a part that I laughed at a lot, because it's like a blood gag that is very funny, very funny.
Again, I think that must have been practical. That's a lot of blood to spray on someone.
100%. Yeah. Did enjoy that a great deal. And I think from there on, like, it's just pretty much solid fights. You know, it just goes from like that location to a quite cool Maltese location with the vampire man. That's a fun one. And then we end up in the sort of lair for the final few bouts, I would say, and that's where they really take it up a notch.
So good. Not to get too far ahead, but who comes in? Andy Long.
Yes,
he's the boss. He's probably the boss man.
He's the boss man. He's also one of the choreographers of this stuff, and
that's the next level for me.
When was on the Jackie Chan stunt team. He has got quite some pedigree behind him. He's actually born and raised in Germany, but we've talked about him before on the pod because he choreographed the action in a couple of Indian movies in recent years, which have really kind of like raised the bar, I would say, for my preferred style of action and fighting. Historically, in a lot of Indian movies, there's a lot of like people who aren't trained fighters, and there's a lot of speed ramping and people being clotheslined, and then a stuntman does a flip, you know, and it's like you can make anyone look like a hard nut with that. And in a few movies that he's done with a guy called Vidyut, who is an incredible martial artist, they've really sort of combined their powers and that sort of Jackie Chan stunt team style to elevate those movies. And I think, when he arrives in this movie, you're like, hello, who's this lad? And that fight scene is top notch.
He's got this on-screen charisma as well, though. Like you said, when he's on screen, it's like, oh wow, who's this guy? What's he gonna do? And it turns out he's gonna fight really well.
he's gonna fuck some shit up. That is for sure. Yeah. I would like to see him on screen more. You know, he does a lot of coordination stuff, but sort of in the wake of the lads from Everything Everywhere All at Once Martial Club, you know, who've kind of graduated from choreographing stuff, YouTube. They've suddenly like, oh my goodness, people have seen the potential of these guys. And I think Andy Long is in that sort of place where he moves like an absolute mofo. And that final fight is a doozy, to be fair. It's one of those ones where you go, whew, this is, I mean, I know Adkins has to win this, but he's met his match.
The choreography is far and away the strongest bit of this film. Not only the fight choreography, but the choreography with the camera and the fights, and the way they film the fights, and the lack of editing, and the way the camera moves around the fights. Maybe there's some seamless cuts within some of the fighting itself, but
not much. Really and maybe a little bit of undercranking, but again, it's not overt. Amount. There's no obvious jump cuts, and there's no obviously sped up bits. It feels very natural, and you're right. They move the camera in the right way. It sounds ridiculous, but it's clearly like, you know, it's directed by people who know where to put the camera to make stuff look great.
Yeah.
And they're also working with people that are in great shape and can do longer takes and series of moves that they can kind of roam around and just make these people look great. They don't have to cut on every hit. It's, it's action movies, how they bloody well should be, mate.
Yeah. And it's exhilarating to watch and makes you think, why can't all action movies be like this? But like you say, it's down to the performers as much as it is down to the choreography and down to the reactions as well and their actions. But I skipped ahead by talking about Andy Long, but really the star of the show, acting wise, who I really enjoyed performance wise and worked well with the script, was Poco the Clown. I know it was so far out of left field in terms of like who these apparently 5 well-trained assassins are.
Yeah.
One of them's a clown that doesn't feel any pain.
FYI.
Yeah. And he's got a breeze block attached to a massive piece of scaffold.
Yeah.
So
it does feel slightly like, it's a comic book movie. So you're like, okay, so what kind of thing are we dealing with? Well, we've got an assassin who's just quite good looking, one of them. And we got another one who's, I guess, like a bit Asian and sort of a ninja, but not really in any large way. And then we've got one who's like a sort of commando lady. Okay, not so comic booky. What else have you got? Oh, one of them is a clown. One of them is a clown with a massive sledgehammer who doesn't feel any pain. Gotcha. Yes.
Nice.
Yes.
Great. Now
you
we're back
finally
on.
Delivered on the comic book premise of this.
Yeah, so much so that they open the film with it. They do like
That's
a record
true.
scratch opening with this clown. They've got this fantastic shot. I've watched it like 3 times. I don't know how they do it, where he swings the breeze block towards the camera and it has this real kind of 3D effect without it being in 3D. And they put that right at the front and they show it again. And they have a real kind of like, I love it, that kind of record scratch trope of like, you're probably wondering how I got here.
It is classic Guy Ritchie, isn't it? They call him Mike the Stabs, and he seems like a nice little guy until somebody challenges him to a game of snooker.
Yeah, but it's
But you're right. He does really good acting. He is terrifying and sort of like menacing and creepy and weird, whilst also sort of being. I assume I don't know if he's more a straight actor or a martial artist or what his sort of vibe is, but he's very good in it. Yeah, I think in a role that is ostensibly one scene. He does sort of steal the movie, I suppose. Yeah.
It must be great to do a scene and then sit down to watch the film that you've done the scene in, and they put the scene in twice. The same scene. Or just opening with it. It's really good acting, along with Ray Stevenson, like when he's in as well. It's like, this
elevates
is
it,
elevated.
doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's like, he's talking about a sausage, Ray Stevenson, and he's doing it in that slightly Guy Ritchie way, but he's committing to it and he's doing it really well. And it's the same with Poco the Clown, who's
Beau Fowler is the actor.
Beau Fowler. Again, like as with wrestling or other things like that, good action movies are more about the reactions than they are about the actions themselves, and he gives great reactions.
Yeah, he absolutely does. And I'm sure he's probably, if he's not the stunt performer, he's doubled for some of it. But you're right. His thing, I guess, his particular set of skills is not that he's a really great fighter. It's just that he doesn't feel any pain. So he is basically sort of a punching bag for Scott Adkins for most of that scene. He does have a massive sort of breeze block attached to a stick hammer kind of thing and a baseball bat. So he does go at it, but he really takes a pounding.
Mm-hmm. And one of the great practical stunts as well in that scene, that the corridor crew kind of stepped in for with a fantastic arm break.
Yes. Yeah. He gets another dispatched in a very solid way also. We should mention Ray Stevenson because when I watched the first Accident Man, I wasn't familiar with Ray Stevenson. In between the first Accident Man and now, Ray Stevenson has become the bloke in RRR who epitomizes the British Empire. And
oh wow,
Do you know the value of the bullet in your gun? Incredible role that he really hams it up and kills it in that. And he does in this, you're right. He does sort of, you just bring in a good character actor to sort of bring up it's a production value thing in a way, isn't it?
Yeah.
It in the same way as like a drone shot of Malta makes you go, well, this is like a big movie. Someone just doing a solid bit of character acting really sort of elevates the whole movie. So it's nice. It's nice that he comes back.
He gets one of my favourite moments in the film as well by, it's another trope. It's not, it's where he, out of anger, fires his gun into the air like they do in Point Break. I love that. That's literally my favourite thing you can do in a film where you're like, ah! They do it in Hot Fuzz as well as a homage,
Yes.
but yeah, he's firing a shotgun into the air, but inside.
I know,
I love that. I love that trope. I love that point.
I'm so frustrated. I've got to. I'm going to shoot this gun off camera because obviously I can't shoot a shotgun in here. We've only got the Airbnb for another few hours. I can't repaint the ceiling.
He's great. He's really good. Just commits to it like he does in RRR, like you're saying. It's just I know what this is, but I'm gonna do this really well.
Yeah, all credit to the fella. He comes in and he smashes it. And even Perry Benson, who plays Finicky Fred, who I'm sort of on the fence about whether I sort of enjoyed that performance or not, or like I don't know if I've seen him in anything else. I think you know,
you would have you do This Is England? Have you seen This Is England?
I have seen This Is England. Yeah,
he's in that.
Gotcha.
He's also in Scum.
Right,
the Ray
around.
Winston. Yeah, he was in Grange Hill.
What?
I thought. I think I might have seen him in Grange Hill first. Weirdly,
whoa!
And
I'm on his IMDb. Grange Hill, 1978.
It feels, and his performance in this is quite Grange Hill in a weird way.
It's a little bit on the nose, isn't it? Yeah. And I don't know if that's, he has been working for the best part of 30 years. So clearly he's doing something right. I think somewhere between his performance and the script, it just doesn't quite work for me.
Didn't quite come off.
Also, his sort of arrival is very like, look, he just has to be there. Just get him. Let's just get to the story quickly. It's very much like, oh, hello, mate. What are you doing in Malta, where I am, which is where we're filming this movie? Oh, I'm just here for like a really convoluted reason. Don't worry about it.
I've got a love interest that doesn't seem to pay off, and then I get ribbed that it's all a scam, and then at the end she turns up, like right at the end for the last 30 seconds she turns up. It's super weird.
That bit is super
that
weird,
love interest bit.
Yeah. I feel like that story beat could have been maybe massaged into something slightly more.
I think you could cut it.
But just cut it out. He has to have a reason to be in Malta for some reason. He could have just been on holiday.
This thread. Yeah.
Why is he not just on holiday? I don't know. Yeah.
But some nice jokes about Maltesers and the British Bake Off early on. So
they're all right, aren't they?
They're fine. They're in there to say, this is British and this is a comedy.
Yes. I think it sets out its stall very clearly at the beginning. Like you say, with the sort of what would you call that when you show a bit from earlier on in the movie right at the beginning? It's not foreshadowing. It's just a flash forward. Flash forward, isn't it? It's like this is what it is. Here we go. You got this to come. We've put a lot of money into making this look nice. Let's get on with it.
We've got a first person like voiceover. So I'm going to be partly narrating, which again tells you what it is. Is there any narration?
Literally and figuratively, yes.
Is there narration in the first one?
That is a great question, and I do not recall. Is my answer? Do not recall, Your Honour.
It does give a little bit of there are elements, like you're saying, I think with better materials, Scott. What's Scott?
Got to get Scott on the line.
Scott Atkins could be really good. There's something, I think they're reaching for this kind of Ryan Reynolds kind of especially when he's being punched in the face a lot and he doesn't take pain a lot. And so there's that kind of quippy kind of element to the character.
Yeah.
Which I think needs better writing.
That's what I wanted to see a little bit, more of, or just slightly better written. You know, just when he's like, oh, dare you, silly old Burke. And I'm like, does anyone talk like that?
He does say Burke, doesn't he?
Yeah.
That stuck out as well. But he's got the charisma for it.
Absolutely, yeah.
He's got the on-screen presence. It's really just,
But I think this is what it is, you know, for the best part of, 15, 20 years, people have been like, just get him, he just needs the right project, which is to do a disservice to the fact that he's had a great career where he's been churning out 2 or 3 movies a year for the last 10 years. Like, he's very successful and he's really carved out a niche. But I suppose everyone's like, Scott Adkins should be Batman, or, put him in a big budget movie.
Yeah.
And anytime he does pop up in a big budget movie, it's, as the sort of the henchman. Like, I think gets killed by Jason Statham in Expendables 2, and he's in one of the Bournes, and he's in Doctor Strange, but it's never like, oh, great, he's, the main bad guy. It's like, yes, there's never quite enough for him to sort of sink his teeth into. And I think, it's so tough. I guess it's a tough sell, isn't it? When you're like, how do we got to trust you that you can do this really good script, but we haven't quite seen you in something with a really good script. It's a horrible sort of vicious cycle of money and Hollywood and movies.
But I think the Kirby brothers do really well with this in terms of throwing loads of inventiveness at the screen as much as possible. And like you say, the choreography's kind of the fight choreography is really, really good. Yeah. And it's really, it's enjoyable. It's a romp. It goes quickly. And like you say, once the boss fights start coming, they don't stop coming. Yeah. And
it delivers exactly what you want from a Scott Adkins movie, I think. And that's not a bad thing. It's exactly a good thing. It's like the exact movie this podcast exists for, because I love this sort of movie. I love Scott Adkins. I love it when, people, just so many talented people sort of coming together and all just like nailing it, like great fight choreography, sort of these new upstart directors who are like, oh my God, we've got a feature. Let's absolutely smash this out of the park, even though we haven't really got enough money to do any of the things, thank God for drones, because no one's renting a helicopter. It's the sort of very modern movie making, and it's I think they've done an absolute cracking job with a limited budget, a limited time, and some really great performances and choreography from all involved.
100%.
I've been waiting to talk about this for over 2 weeks since it came out now, so it is fully out, I believe, internationally. Wherever you rent movies, do it a bloody rental, mate. Spend the 5 of your local currency or whatever the equivalent is. Support local talent. Support these independent movies. Like Adkins himself keeps saying, if everyone keeps downloading Undisputed, there won't be any more Undisputed. So I think with this, this is the perfect springboard to Accident Man 3. Like, I think I'd be very surprised if everyone involved doesn't want to make Accident Man 3. And really, as long as this makes the investors their money back, you would hope they'd be dead on for a threequel.
100%. And it's I would watch Accident Man 3.
Where are they going to go next? That's it now, isn't it? It's like your classic, the sequel, you go abroad. It's like In-Betweeners or whatever, another sequel where they go, a British movie where they go abroad in the sequel. I don't know.
Sex in the City 2. I think brought that last
the
time.
ultimate go abroad sequel. Yeah, you've absolutely nailed that. If I were to press you, Joseph, for your action replay moment from this movie, what would it be?
It would be the moment that's shown twice in the movie. It would be Poco the Clown, and it would be the swinging of that massive breeze block on the end of a large piece of scaffold, and then that whole scene. Does it have to be one moment? It's either
Ideally,
that
yeah.
or the okay. Well,
you can widen it out.
the Point Break gun moment. Again, that's not very actiony. Yeah.
No, that's absolutely fine, but it's very enjoyable.
What about you?
There's maybe a couple. What I enjoyed the one moment in the first boss battle where she pulls out one of those tiny little knives, and I want to say that is like an homage to the Raid 2 when they were like in the kitchen. She pulls out that little curved blade, and I just wanted them to square up to each other like they do in the Raid 2 to really like tip of the hat. That was great. And I would say probably just a couple of moments in the fight with Andy Long where he spins around a lot, or they do a couple of like really nice combo bits. There's just that fight has loads of lovely little moments that are intricately choreographed and so well executed. And again, really well shot that you just, you know, you see it, you feel it. You're like, they're doing it and they're fucking good at this. That was really great. I think that actually the first bit where he arrives, he does this move where he sort of flies towards Adkins and then he spins around on his knees on the floor. And then like immediately you're like, this guy's an absolute boss. He's the end of game boss. He's going to be a tough one. And if I'd had to start like a tiny little, it's an action movie trope about how the main boss dies.
Yeah, I was going to say.
That can be slightly disappointing. That could count as a little disappointing. That's all I'll say. Watch the movie and see if you agree. But you can't argue that what leads up to it is absolutely cracking. Joe, we've come to the end of the podcast. I'm looking at all the things I wrote down on my little notes there. And I think I've covered every single one. Oh, you know what? The only thing I didn't mention, which I wrote down, and it's such a stupid, pointless thing to say, but you might enjoy this, is there's a bit where they're testing out all the murder gadgets.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like a home video. But why is the home video shot on an Alexa?
4K. They have that, and
Why don't you just shoot it on an actual iPhone and put it in the movie? There must be.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was just like, all it is it just looks like the same as the movie, but with a sort of a video camera, like a boxing
overlay
effect, and then it just says record in the corner. It doesn't look like they've shot it on.
But they've even put in the other corner 4K, like 60 frames a second. Like, all right, so you want to show that you've got some production value on your...
even his camera is really expensive.
Probably is not even shooting that. Like, make sure it puts 4K so it looks like we've got.
We'll upscale it. Upscale it. It should be fine. Anyway, absolutely pointless thing to complain about, and no need for that. But it's a podcast, isn't it? So you've got to be pricks. Joe, thanks so much for joining us for the second time on the podcast. I'm already delighted to have you back to talk about the sequel to a movie you haven't seen again.
Well, one of the trailers, right? I haven't seen the
Lost Bullet 2.
I haven't seen Lost Bullet, and I will not see Lost Bullet. Just in case you do want to talk about Lost Bullet 2.
That's actually a great move. And have you seen the first three Hazard movies that come before H4Z4RD?
I have, unfortunately. Actually, there's 43. It's actually the 44th
It's Hazard
film.
44?
Yeah.
Oh, man. That is a lot. That is a very popular series. Goodness.
It's deep. There's a deep lore, strangely enough, behind Hazard.
It's actually based on a
Hazard
set of
44.
novellas from the 1970s. Can't wait. Hey, if people want to find you on social media, where's the best place to snoop you out?
Thank you for saying social media, because last time I gave my email address out.
You did. Did anyone get in touch?
A lot of spam. I think my spam went up.
Yeah, that's
so. I think they've scraped. They're scraping podcasts now for emails.
Yeah. Well, people always can go back to your last appearance if they do need your email address, because that is true. That still exists. Meantime,
you can contact me on any social media as just @ I am Joe Roberts, and if you do contact me, I will give you my email address.
It's that easy. It's that easy. A couple of DMs, he'll give you his phone number.
Not even a couple. Just a like.
Thirsty.
Like, and then I'll reach out to you.
As ever, you can get in touch with me and all the social medias at Simon Fielder. And the podcast has its own Twitter now, which is very exciting. It's at Dodge This Pod. So if you want to engage with not me as the human, but the podcast and particular action movie nerdery or this episode, or, retweet it. This is how you share it with people without having to share my stream of social media conscious bullshit. You can just share the pod at Dodge This Pod. Thank you so much for listening. It's been a long one, but we're back with a bang. This was an absolute doozy of a movie, and I'm so glad that Atkins is still banging out the heaters, as nobody says. We'll catch you in the next episode, where I cannot promise Matt Heighton will be back. But we know he's not dead, so there's always a chance he'll come back, like the guy at the end of Die Hard or every single horror movie. See you next time. Goodbye.
Bye.